Hello, this is Dr. Brie-Anna Willey, and this is my channel, Business for Nerds. Why did I name the show Business for Nerds? Because I'm a nerd. I love sci-fi, video games, reading fantasy. I also love to talk about all things business. As I'm learning, I want to grow and collaborate with other business owners. So, welcome to Business for Nerds. I'm interviewing entrepreneurs so we can mutually support each other in business. Today, I'm talking with Elizabeth Walker, the host and producer of Dear Business Coach, and she's going to talk about her business and the services she provides. Hello, Elizabeth. How are you doing today?
Hey, just fine. Great. Thanks for having me. This is exciting.
How does that work with Walker Consulting Works, LLC?
Walker Consulting works as in workshops. As an LLC, I started last year just for that, with the intent of producing workshops. And right now, Walker Consulting Works is a YouTube channel where I publicize workshop events that are free, and they're there if they produce something that is for everyone, whether you're one person or a large organization. For example, trademark basics on a small business administration website, and they're all over the United States. So these are short YouTube clips where I talk about a workshop event, a free webinar. So Walker Consulting Works is really about helping everybody, whether you're a solopreneur, as some of us say, or scaling up to a larger business. You can always find free resources and webinars. And so Walker Consulting Works is an LLC where we can also host local workshops. I'm based out of Floyd, Virginia, and I'm looking for collaborations too there from folks who want to produce workshops online. So Dear Business Coach is the podcast to talk all things business. This is my version of Business for Nerds. So Dear Business Coach is a place to give highlights to business owners and provide a space for conversation for all of us to kind of put your brain on the shelf for a few minutes and just pick up. So maybe you pick up one thing from the conversation that helps move your business forward today. Maybe you just learned one trick about how to share a file that's faster and easier. And that was the thing that got you unstuck, for the day to move forward to your next task. So it could be something really little, or it could be something really big, like a new connection that, takes you to a new avenue in your business.
Neat. It's very cool. So you're basically in the business of supporting businesses. Is that
right?
Kind of a
right.
Okay, very cool. So you talked about you nerd out a little bit. Your version is Dear Business Coach. What do you feel nerdy about? What do you nerd out with?
Yeah, you asked me this, and this is funny. It's not a secret to people that are close to me, but I find it kind of embarrassing. But, as I said to you, I'm addicted to podcasts. I listen to podcasts literally all day long. I still like books on my shelf, and especially when I buy a brand new book, I have a thing for book ink smell, fresh pages, magazine ink. I think I spent a few years of my high school experience at Barnes & Noble. I just love the smell of book ink. It's kind of silly.
Yeah, that's great though. It's kind of like, again, I'm a therapist, but it's almost like that's your place. That's where you go to kind of help you feel good. Maybe you go there in your mind. So that reminds me of the safe place with one of my therapy tools. Is that kind of...
Yes. Now, when I was in high school, Barnes & Noble still had big cushy seats. You could go and sit in a corner. So I think if I could implore bookstores to bring back cushy seats so we could spend more time in there, please.
Yeah, a lot of us like that. I have, I have it blurred, but I've got tons of books. I need physical books. That is me. Give us back those cushy seats so we can hang out and read our physical books. Thank you. Right? Oh, you also said you nerd out a little bit about some of the business foundations. Can you tell us a little bit about business nerding, if that's a word?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Maybe what business nerding means to me. You asked me earlier about my background in sales, and I told you that I can either talk all day about sales, that is how to this, how to that. But there's also a psychology side to it. That's where I nerd out. And so if if that bores you, then, skip ahead, I guess. But my nerdy side is getting into the nuts and bolts of the psychology a little bit behind sales and sales practice. I spent a solid 10 years in inside sales and have also done a number of, direct sales and outside sales. But either way, it doesn't matter. The psychology behind it applies. Is the difference between coming to a potential customer with the goal to, quote, trick somebody into a sale or take advantage of them. That's that really drives me nuts. It's a pet peeve of mine. When you are looking at a prospective customer, it's about making the connection and having that person honestly get a value or a need out of what you're offering. So it's one thing to form a true connection with a customer and give them something that they need or want versus trying to trick them out of their money. Right. So that's something that I hope to bring out as a theme on Dear Business Coach podcast too. And I really hope that comes across as something, for like-minded business owners to be attracted to.
Yes. So it sounds like therapists need to be following you too to learn about sales. And that, I think a lot of us therapists, we don't want to trick people because we're, empathic people. We want to help. We want to listen. We want to be there. And some of us are learning coaching and we're, it's like talking a new language with sales. We don't really understand it and we don't want to trick people. And it sounds like you have some good ideas with helping us with that. So we'll have to tune in to your show and learn more. Do you have any guidance for therapists who feel icky about sales? Just a little tip. How to get through some of that stuck feeling.
Well, I'm not a therapist, but I definitely have spoken with several counselors in my personal life. And so I think maybe I've picked up some verbiage. So if I were a sales counselor, my first question might be, well, have you been taken advantage of by a salesperson? Do you have people in your life, where parents or other adults when you were a child, who maybe have planted some things that are just thoughts that, sales is dirty, salespeople are, always trying to get something out of you, or.
Yeah, we don't want to, be like that. We don't, I feel like that when I'm posting something. Oh no, what if they think I'm trying to trick them? I'm not, I really have something I'm trying to, give them some value.
So you already know how to do it because you already are listening to people. And when somebody says, yes, they want to pay for your services, you're not tricking them. But one of the skills, though, that you can start using right away is catching yourself when somebody says, yes, they're interested in working with you. Accept that and go forward with, great, when's our meeting going to be? And stop talking so that you don't talk yourself out of why you're a good fit for that customer.
Oh, yeah. And that goes around mindset. And a lot of people talk about this imposter syndrome, maybe doing some work around that.
It's tricky.
Yeah. That's a great tip. I really like that. And I think I'm going to do some more on sales because, again, I'm learning and the people that follow me are learning. And that's what this show's about, growing together, So thank you for that. Let me look at my next question. Going back to, your website, I was looking at that to kind of prepare for our meeting. And it looks like, and I think you were saying you help with event listings for small businesses. So you basically help people advertise. Is that kind of it?
Yes, and right now it's 100% free service. So what walkerconsultingworks.com is, of course, the homepage where things are listed, but really the YouTube page is where that's going to be your power if you are promoting an event. So if you have a workshop, a webinar, class, or networking event, then you can give me, basically I'm reading your event, like Elizabeth reads your workshop news on the air, but it's the YouTube channel. So then you'll have your personalized little 1-minute video that goes on to Walker Consulting Works social media. And then you have that video to promote too. So what am I doing with those videos? Very organic and simple right now is group marketing, Facebook, LinkedIn, group marketing, Instagram. And then of course, what those small listings do is gives you a clip where I found that workshop useful to small businesses. So I'm targeting small businesses with Dear Business Coach podcast and the Walker Consulting Works. So if you're trying to reach an audience in your small business, that's where your listing will go when I create a video for your event.
That's so neat. That's wonderful how you're supporting small businesses, because it is so difficult to get a startup going, and you're helping them build, get their names out there. So this would help therapists too.
Absolutely. All you have to do is give me either what I would normally do is pull from your website and do some screenshots. But if you have a flyer or a clip that you'd like to include, so you can message, email, submit through the website form, and that's all there is to it.
Cool. I love that. So neat. Again, going back to let's grow together. You're all about that too. And I was looking at your website too. So I saw the a la carte area. What are pro picks? What is that? I wasn't sure.
Those are two different things. This is coming from my sales background from inside sales. If you have a pitch, if you will. Now, my experience is mostly inside sales, phone pitch. It applies if you're sitting in an office and you're just by yourself, for example, a real estate agent, and you're making cold calls. It's the same thing, but you have a script in front of you of what happens when you're on the phone with a customer. So it might be an appointment setting call, or it might be a sales call. Sometimes those are two different calls. Sometimes you're doing the same thing in one phone call. Mm-hmm. So a la carte means that you can elect to have me work with you on like one little sales script, a la carte.
You build it with, or they build it with you.
Right. So if you have a phone script, if you will, then we'll go over that. Now it's a la carte if it's just one little script. Hi, my name's Elizabeth, coming to you from 123 Real Estate, and I see your house has been on the market. Was wondering if you're happy with your current listing. That's a phone script. But what do you do after you get the person on the phone, and what's your goal? Are we looking to get an appointment, or is this a sales call? So that's a la carte. We're talking about 30 minutes, just boop, boop, boop. What's the beginning, middle, and end of your sales call? Is it doing what you want to do? Are you comfortable with it? Back to your question earlier about sales help. It's a model, right? Don't make it too complicated. It just takes a few minutes to go over if you like your opening, if the middle says what you want, and did you get what you wanted out of the end of that phone call? Both of you, both you and the potential customer. So that's a la carte. If you have more than one service and you're trying to, blend one sales pitch into a couple other things, then you have a series of things to work on. But a la carte's just one little phone script.
And I think that's another area that some of us feel stuck with, coming up with what do we say when we're on the phone? How do we get to the potential, the buy-in from the people calling? And as therapists and therapists transitioning to coaching, we weren't exactly taught that. So it sounds like you provide that. That's so neat.
Well, that's something that I did as a mentor in an office setting, was breaking apart your script with a potential customer on the phone. And if you like to read and write, if you're a nerd, it wouldn't be surprising to me if you are interested in, the art of writing, what makes a good book, what makes a good essay. You probably are really good at essay writing. And that was something that came to me, when we're script writing, when we're in an office setting, you might come off of the call with a customer and it just didn't work. It just, something went wrong. You don't know what, and you go back to your manager, your sales coach, your script, and you just try to figure out, did I say something wrong? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it just wasn't the right time for you and that customer. But it's like writing an essay. To have an effective essay, you have to have a short, quick, sweet opening. The transitions have to make sense. You have to feel good saying it, but there's a really clear beginning, middle, and end. So that's something you can take whatever you have in front of you as what you're going to say to your client on the phone. Pretend it's an essay. Try rewriting it.
I like that. Good tips and strategies. Check out Walker Consulting Works and Dear Business Coach Podcast by Elizabeth Walker. Okay, and as we were preparing, we talked a little bit about some of the struggle from transitioning from being an employee to having entrepreneurship or sole proprietorship, LLC, and then coming up with writing our profiles. We have difficulty often with talking about ourselves because, maybe we worked for someone and we didn't have to. Do you have any ideas about that or thoughts?
Yes, let me think for a second. So when we're writing profiles, so I did say to you before the show that I want to talk to you about that while we're recording, because I think that a lot of people really struggle with this. And
yeah,
I'm not an expert on this, but I can share how what I see, feel, and hear from people I'm talking to. That's a real challenge because you have to figure out, what am I comfortable sharing?
Yes.
So writing a profile from coming from an employee to a business owner, focusing on your skills. You've already helped me just from talking in the few short meetings that we've had. You put me on the spotlight. You said, I don't really see anything about you as a person. There's verbiage about Walker Consulting Works and some nice things to say about how we want to see you succeed. But you caught me. I don't have anything great about myself because I have been, shy. How interesting is that for somebody to read about some girl who came out of an office and started a website? Well, you just asked me. Yeah, well, so the answer is I am talking to you today and you just pulled it out of me. So practice. So somebody asks you, what's your elevator pitch? That's it. So I had to, between today and a week ago, think about that. And you just asked me to answer it. So I have a sales background. So start with that. What is your background? Name a skill and find out why, what is that skill that you're proud of? And I will suggest going to LinkedIn and connecting with some people who work at LinkedIn. That's their job. By accident came across a connection on LinkedIn, and she talks about basic marketing and profile building, and I connected with her to see if I could pick her brain a little bit about LinkedIn marketing. And what happened was she started looking at my profile and said, well, change this, change this, change this, change that. I didn't hire her. She works at LinkedIn. Her job is to make sure that you like coming back to LinkedIn.
Oh.
Her job is to connect with you, and she wants to know you're getting sales leads and connections from the business she works for. So free resource, go find somebody that's their job.
Yes.
And they don't know you. They don't know anything about your business, but they know how LinkedIn works. They know, hey, you need more profile hits. So why don't you go look at she told me to look at my about section. And I had written in there, well, I have experience in sales. And she said, that's nice. Now, what can you say about what problem you're solving for people within that description? So to be honest with you, Brie-Anna, I am working on my profile as we speak. So since you forced me to think about that, that's an answer I found.
Well, I'm happy to hear that sparked some connection and some ideas, and you're working on that. Because yes, I think we're getting to know you today, and maybe just summarizing some of that in your about section. At least us therapists, we need to learn about sales. How can you help us with sales? Because we don't get it. It's not our language. Can you help? And I bet you a lot of business owners don't really know how to do sales in a non-salesy way, in a non-icky way. We don't want to feel icky. We don't want to sell things that people don't want. We want to connect with people. And it sounds like you could teach us how to do that.
Yeah, well, and short of actually practicing one-on-one with a coach per se, that's why I think the free webinars, are a huge place to start, because you'd be surprised how you might be able to find a free webinar, put it on while you're eating lunch. These are not high pressure, they're interactive, but you don't have to, it's not like going to class. You don't have to show up with a textbook,
right,
to get something out of it. But, and so in terms of me personally, sales, if you're a therapist, you already know how to ask somebody, why are you here? Why do you want to talk to me? So asking the person why lets them answer for you and themselves. Just like you got me thinking about my profile, you know how to ask a question, you know how to connect with somebody, and it doesn't have to take 20 minutes. So I think that's kind of the scary thing about sales for some people is the art or the skill of building rapport.
Yes.
It just means asking a question or two to connect with somebody in the first couple of minutes. So if you're a therapist looking for sales coaching, the first step is you already do that every day.
Ooh, yes. Yes, we do. I like that. It's just helping us kind of look at it in a different light. We already know how to do it. We just have to, build our confidence a little bit, it sounds like.
You have a natural system built into your business, Brie-Anna. So the model that you have kind of works for you in terms of what do you do when you don't want to feel salesy. Well, you already have a system that's in place. When you asked me about setting up a time to be a guest on your show, you're conducting a sale. And so what did you do? You started a series of emails with me that were designed to engage me. It was it's professional. So you already have 1, 2, 3. Okay, Elizabeth responded with yes, she would like to set up a meeting. You got a yes. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Now what? The next thing is you had an email set up for me to say that I pick a time and sign something with you where we agree on XYZ. For you,
Mm-hmm.
it was a video release. Am I allowed to record you? Do I have your permission?
Mm-hmm.
That is the same thing as when you're on a sales process with somebody and you're gathering their information towards the finish of the sale.
Mm-hmm.
What's your email address is 123@gmail.com. Is that correct? Customer says yes. Great.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that we're going to meet next Tuesday at 12 on Zoom. Is Zoom still good for you? Yes. So you've already gotten the customers engaging with you. That's it. So Brie-Anna, you already have a sales model as you're talking to people who are coming to you of how to set up private practice. That is your sales model. Ask, have your yes, and then when you're confirming towards the finished product, for us the sale is we're recording together. We're getting our product from each other right now. So those emails and those prompts and those prompts for me to say yes to you a couple of times more before we get to today is what you did. You just did that.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you sold me on something?
Yes, on us growing together. So I can take that and I have the model. I can do this.
Yeah.
I like that. Very cool. You're very good at this. Very cool.
Oh, okay.
I like it. How did you become interested in helping business owners?
A nerd. I'm a nerd.
I love it.
I'm a nerd. I like talking about this. I like talking about businesses' stories. And I'm fascinated with people's success stories, the things that they tripped over on the way to get there. And those are the kinds of books that I was reading in Barnes and Noble. Those are the kinds of books that I just can get stuck in. Actually, earlier you asked me, you read something off my website called Pro Picks. I did use that verbiage in the sales a la carte service offerings there on the website, but there's also an Audible Picks section, which I also called Pro Picks. So, reading those are some books, a page on that website where I started. Those are books that are mine, that are on my bookshelf, that I like, that I've read. A couple of them have been on my bookshelf for 15 years. So, I'm going off track here, but how did you get interested in helping businesses and the podcast and talking about workshops on the Walker Consulting Works channel? Is it's really about people's success stories, right? And probably what you see in front of you that's considered successful probably took a long time. So I really nerd out on listening to those people's stories.
That sounds like through that, you're inspiring other business owners that yes, it may take time and hard work, but it's worth it to build the business.
Yeah, so building on the profile conversation, I'm going to use this talk with you as an exercise to kind of talk out a little bit about what you just asked me. How did you get into Dear Business Coach podcast and your business? Because on from both sides of my family are business owners, large and small, and I've spent my entire life sitting around conversations about businesses, particularly immediate family who are doing this day in, day out. So on my dad's a solopreneur, if you will. He's retired now, but he had a string of furniture and mattress stores. And in his entrepreneurship, he was the business. So, it's his store. He's the face of the business, and the sales happen because he's there. Not to say he doesn't or didn't have employees. But I think that's a lot of people are in that position as individuals and entrepreneurs. Even if you have a small team, you're the one who drives the business. Sales may not come in unless you're there. And then on my mom's side of the family, they were considered a small business, but they grew into a very large telecommunications supplier and service supplier in my lifetime. I have a lot of experience listening to people talk about what works, what doesn't work, and what sometimes things that work for one business doesn't work for another.
You have a natural experience from being surrounded by that. And that's maybe something to put in your profile.
You would think I would be sick of it. You would think that I wouldn't want to, but for whatever reason. There is a running joke, there has been a running joke in my family. Like, are we going to go to dinner and talk about business again? But it happens.
Bunch of business nerds.
Yeah.
Need breaks from it though sometimes.
Yes.
I get it.
Yes.
And that's, and that kind of goes in line with some of the things I talk about, the work-life balance. People ask, is that possible? I do think it is, but it's unique for each of us, and yes, we need breaks from talking about business too. I get it. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about your business and how you help others?
The Dear Business Coach podcast is designed to also talk about the art of your business. So while you can ask questions about, help me find resources on marketing and sales, if you're a business looking to be featured on the Dear Business Coach podcast, it's an opportunity to showcase yourself, right? It can be an advertising spot, but also I would like to see businesses use Dear Business Coach podcast as an opportunity to nerd out themselves. I wrote down a question for a business spotlight this morning. I want to ask you as a business owner, what is something that you like doing in your business that you could outsource or pay somebody else to do, but you don't because you like it that much or you care about it that much that you just can't stay away from it. You want to do that part of your business yourself. So I'm kind of looking for business owners who want to be a nerd with me and share in these stories about what's fun for their business or, what's something unexpected about your business that you did decide to outsource,
Yeah.
So if you want to use Your Business Coach podcast as a place to showcase, but also, nerd out on those aspects about your business journey, please, this is a good place to talk about those things.
Cool. I love that. Got to nerd out on business. Okay. How do people contact you or follow you?
Dear Business Coach is on Spotify, Apple, most all the podcast platforms that you listen to. It's a YouTube channel, Dear Business Coach on podcast on YouTube. There are 2 groups. There's Dear Business Coach on Facebook and Dear Business Coach on LinkedIn. The Dear Business Coach podcast and YouTube channel website homepage is at walkerconsultingworks.com. Instagram is Dear Business Coach. And so those are the major places where you would hit us up. So you can direct message, you can email dearbusinesscoach@gmx.com for questions and or stories that you'd like to see if you'd like to share your business on the air.
Very neat. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And thank you, followers, business nerds. You have a fabulous day, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Brie-Anna.